Hello again everyone, Deflect here for But Fair Gaming. Want to bring you a video on Resto Druid. I'll be doing all the Druid specs as I main Druid for most of the season, Season 3. And it doesn't look like much is going to change for Season 4, but I will update as needed. I did switch from Druid in the last couple weeks back to Demon Hunter, just because they do more damage, and the Guardian tank was lackluster outside of Incarn. But we'll get to that in the Guardian video. This one is on the Resto video. Resto is a great spec to play, very fun. I don't know, it's one of my favorite healers. I do like the hot healer. It is phenomenal in raids. It's really good in M+ right now. It doesn't do quite the damage that Holy Priest does, but it is still very good, and I was playing it actually this week in raid as well. So we'll jump right into what we need to do here. So the stats you're looking for is haste verse. If you basically to start out with, everything other than that you can work on. I am working on getting my haste up to 30%, but I wanted my verse up higher. I wanted to get my verse to about 20%. My crit is pretty good. I would have dropped that to 20 as well, but those are just rough stats, and you'll have to kind of figure out which your playstyle you like is, and your stats that you would prefer. Mastery isn't overly a great stat, so if you can drop the mastery, it's not a bad thing either. But going into the gear, I use obviously the Unity, but I use it on my ring just because I get some great stats off that. And then I use Circle of Life and Death, where your damage over time effects deal their damage in 25% less time, and your healing over time effects in 15%. Now there is other ones you can use for raiding. That's what I use for Mythic Plus. For raiding, I actually use this as well, but you can get a little more DPS out of some of the other ones. Mother Tree I used, it wasn't bad when I was raiding a bit. I didn't really like Verdant Infusion because Swiftman was good, but it wasn't phenomenal. But the Vision of Unending Growth was really good in raids as well. So Vision of Unending Growth, where Rejuvenate heals have a 2.5% chance to create a new Rejuvenate on a nearby target. It just jumps a lot, so it can get you quite a few jumps and free rejuves in the raid. So that is another good one to use in raid anyway. So between those two, Circle of Life and Death and the Vision of Unending is the two main legendaries you use as Resto. On your weapon, you will put Celestial Guidance. I used Abominable Oil just for the tiny bit of extra heals, and I mean tiny, but it still is extra heals. I'm using the Unbound Changeling and Soleil's Secret Technique. There are a couple other trinkets you can use, but that's what I'm using right now because I have them. Soleil's is hard for me to get rid of because I actually got a crazy roll on Soleil's with Leech on it, so it's a really, really great trinket for me in almost every spec of my Druid. So the talents I am running, and this will go for, this is mainly the build I use for both. I do switch in and out Tree of Life, so you get that big Incarn tree when I'm raiding a lot more. So I'll use the majority of this on raid, and I will use Soul of the Forest depending, unless it's a heavy heal week. If it's a heavy heal week and I know there's going to be some huge burst healing I need, I will still keep Tree of the Forest for M+. But if not, I'll use Soul of the Forest. Sorry, Tree of Life. The first one you can use is Abundance. For each rejuve active, your regrowth costs are reduced by 6% and critical effect chances increased by 6%. Even better in raids, still good in M+. Or you can use the Ward. Just gives you another hot that you just put on your tank the whole time. Just makes it really easy. Just throw it on your tank, forget about it. The next row is your choice. Tiger Dress, Renewal, or Wild Charge, whatever you need. I'm playing Balanced Affinity as Night Fae. If you do switch from Night Fae to the other one, Necrolords, then you will go Feral, because Feral gets the dots, and Necrolord, their ability increases your dots. So Because I'm not playing Necrolord, I am playing Night Fae. I want to be that caster healer, and I didn't want to be a melee healer. I am playing balanced. I'm using currently Mass Entanglement, so you can get actually more out of Heart of the Wild for DPS. But there was a lot of things I wanted in Mass Entangle in the last dungeon, so it's just up there. But every 5 minutes, if you use Balance, Affinity, and Convoke, it does a lot more damage. So definitely it's great every 5 minutes for that big burst damage. But outside of that, I found Mass Entanglement more useful in the last dungeon I was doing. So that's why I have it. Again, like I said, Soul of the Forest, I did have Tree up. I was testing that out in one of them because I thought it would be a lot more heavy healing. I didn't use it as much, but Soul of the Forest is great. If you're raiding, pick this because there will be huge burst spots, and Tree of Life is amazing for those big burst healing spots. But the other one you need is Inner Peace. I use reduces the cooldown of Tranquility for 60 seconds. Or by 60 seconds, so it brings it to a 2-minute Tranquility, which is phenomenal in almost everything. Not a lot of people use it. A lot more people use Spring Blossom. It just does a little more healing on your Effervescence, but I find the 2-minute Trank very, very good. Last one I'm using is Flourish, so when you have all your hots up, you can hit Flourish and it'll refresh them all for 8 more seconds, which does amazing healing on its own. A lot of other people I have seen, they do, I think it was Photosynthesis. While your Life Bloom is active on yourself, your periodical heal 20% faster. It's a weird one to play around. I just prefer Flourish, so I take this in all situations. So again, this is my talent setup. This is the majority of what I use. Like I said, I will switch in Current Tree of Life for sure on rating and sometimes in M+. And Heart of the Wild does some more damage, mainly in M+. Or rating, I guess, because you don't really need Mass Entanglements or Mighty Bastion rating. I'm using Voodoo, and I have it all set up so it's just mouse overs, which makes life very, very easy. But if you don't have Voodoo, you'll actually have to either set up your macros for mouse overs on your raid frames or use a different program. It's up to you. But Voodoo allows me to use the same buttons, just so when I have a mouse over here, I can, cleanse someone with C, or if I have on an enemy and I hit C, it's a soothe. So it does a few different things, and I just enjoy having the multi-function of the buttons. Getting into what you will want to do. So when the opening thing, when you're going in, it's easy just to Life Bloom your tank. Make sure you have Life Bloom on. And if he's far enough away, you can always throw a Rejuve on him when he's going in. And then when he's grabbing the mobs, you can actually just Moonfire them all, get them all set up so you're actually doing damage to them. And once they get stacked, you don't want to do this pre-stack because you have to cast it twice. So once they're stacked, cast your Sunfire, and that way you hit all of them with it and you're doing damage. Now you'll want to, as soon as they're stacked and he's stopped moving, put down Effervescence, which is your big AoE size healing. It does a little bit of healing, but it actually works pretty well. And then keep up Life Bloom on your tank, Rejuve, and if he's starting to take some big damage, you can always throw a proc regrowth on him. You can always use your Iron Bark on your tank if he's taking really big damage to protect him. And then if you're group or M+, if you're in M+, Wild Growth will be your group healing. So that'll start rolling, and you can see when you get all the hots rolling, I would set up on Voodoo like this so you can start to see all the hots and how much time they have left. But once they're all rolling and they're getting low and you guys are in trouble, if you hit Flourish, that's where they all go back up to full and it does healing. So it's really good in Raid. Flourish is really good in Mythic Plus because you can have a full group, have everyone hotted up and they're still getting low. You hit Flourish to go back and you can worry about healing other people. You have, with the 4-piece, you will have every 3 casts of Swiftmen grants you Incarn for 9 seconds, which is basically the Tree of Life, but for 9 seconds instead of 30. And then the other part is healing from Rejuve has a 25% chance to grant Renewing Bloom healing on 1,000 over 6 seconds. Swiftman can consume Renewing Bloom. So it just gives you a little extra healing. The nice thing with running the Balance Infinity and being Resto is you get both the Uracell's Vortex, which will be your root, and you also have your Typhoon to knock back. So it's kind of nice having both. Hibernate comes into play in some dungeons, the biggest one being Miss, because Miss you can actually hibernate the little fox that freezes everyone. I forget his name on the second boss, but you can actually hibernate that and you can root it and all sorts of stuff. But hibernate works really well because then you don't have to worry about it, and by the time it falls off, he's gone. The other big heal, back to the healing, you don't have to worry about. You do have Nature's Swiftness, so once you proc this, you'll get a instant regrowth. So it's very nice. Every 1 minute you can have an instant regrowth. You don't have to worry about it. It also does give you an instant rebirth and entangle roots, but entangle roots kind of is a waste on in most situations. It's very, very niche that you're ever used on entangling roots. The other massive heal, so when you want to make sure you have wild growth and hopefully a couple hots going, and then pop Trank. Healing allies within 45 yards. Each heal heals the target for another 220 over 7 seconds. Stacking healing increased by 100% when not in raid. It does massive group healing. This is your biggest cooldown, and with that talent, it used to be 3 minutes, now it's 2 minutes, and it just pumps the healing. So I like to try and make sure I have at least wild growth at the bare minimum if everyone's taking damage and I fell behind on my hots, which shouldn't happen but occasionally might, and then pump Trank, and you can see, like, you'll see it just does crazy amounts of healing, which is very good. Your other one, if you are Night Fae, to do some great healing, will be burst healing with Convoke. It's on a 1 minute cooldown and it does some great burst healing. You can also use it, like I said, as Boomkin. So you can switch into Boomkin, hit Convoke. You can actually switch out of Boomkin and Convoke will still go and switch to heals halfway through if you find your group's taking damage you need to heal. You cannot switch the other way. If you start in heals, you cannot switch to Boomkin. It will cancel Convoke. So you can only come out of form and keep casting for more heals. So that is the little secret to Convoke, I guess. But yeah, if most times you'll notice, you'll figure out where to use it for damage and where to use it for healing. It's a very good spell both ways. So yeah, other than that, just keep your dots rolling. Always try and keep Sunfire on as many targets that are stacked up as you can. And if you have time, just apply Moonfires. If you want to do more damage and you have a bunch of time, everyone's topped up, everyone has hot, switch to Boomkin form and start casting Rast to get into Solar or Lunar Eclipse, sorry, and then you can cast Starfires and Star Surge. So that will be able to do more damage. You can see it's procced. I don't have the actual visual up here for it, but you can see when you're in Lunar Eclipse and Solar Eclipse because your abilities will glow. So you can definitely do that if you have extra time. But again, like I said, keep all your hots and dots rolling. Keep your Moonfire up, your Sunfire up. Keep your hots on all the targets. If they're taking damage, you know, Wild Growth, Life Bloom on the tank, Effervescence down. And that's basically the way you play Resto Druid. If you have any questions, leave a comment below. Like, share, subscribe, deflect, firm but fair gaming. We'll see you in the next video.